Welcome to Not Entirely Unlike Tea with Christine Collins. Hey there, it's Christine Collins, and today we have a very interesting topic around people-pleasing and some of the things that actually are going on for us neuroscientifically and within our bodies when we find ourselves slipping into a stage of focusing more on requests or even demands from others or from life itself, over and above listening to and honoring our own internal signals. And there can be a balance for both. So sometimes we might think of this as being low maintenance, people pleasing. There's all kinds of terms that would be appropriate for putting others' needs above our own on a consistent basis. So I'm not talking about kindness and doing things for others and being willing to compromise. I'm talking about a pattern in which you consistently and chronically put your own needs last, and particularly your physical, mental, emotional, and health needs, things like sleep, appropriate eating, and many, many others. So one of the things that happens with people pleasing is a loss of sensitivity or being in touch with internal signals, things like fatigue, discomfort, whether physical or emotional, ignoring one's own intuition, ignoring physical signals like hunger or exhaustion, because our bodies are consistently sending us information about what it needs when it's feeling a little bit low or unwell and it needs some extra rest. This chronic ignoring of those body signals and emotional signals is like telling our nervous system that our own safety doesn't matter. And so one of the things that happen is the amygdala stays partially activated because it's detecting an ongoing threat. And what's really interesting about this is that in some ways, that ongoing threat is you, because you are actually ignoring stuff that's really important that needs to be addressed. And as a result, physiologically, neurologically, you're sending signals that you're unsafe. And chronic boundary violations can dysregulate the vagus nerve, which can affect things like digestion, emotional regulation, mysterious exhaustion. And it can cause things like gut issues, feeling emotionally scattered, getting sick more often, and a tendency towards things like, I should help out with this or participate even though I'm feeling really exhausted. I'll go ahead and say yes, even though I'm not quite comfortable with it, something about it feels off or wrong to me, or I don't really want to do it. It's just kind of going against the grain of everything that I want to do. The good news is we don't actually have to choose between making decisions that we sometimes have to make to get something done or totally ignoring versus honoring our body. One of the key things is to develop more awareness, and this is known as interoception, where we're able to detect subtle changes within ourselves around things like our breathing patterns, our hunger, thirst, exhaustion, satiation, pain, tension, and physical comfort or discomfort, emotional discomfort, temperature regulation, fatigue and energy levels, digestive sensations, so kind of that noticing when you're eating something or maybe you're eating too much or you're just kind of listening to what your body is telling you about what it needs in terms of food. Changes in blood sugar, hormonal changes, balance and spatial orientation. So all of these fall under that interoception, which is our ability to notice our body's signals and pay attention to what it's telling us that it needs. And probably the one that many of us have had some experience ignoring the most often is fatigue. When we're feeling really just wiped out or too tired to do something and we try to push through anyway. It can sometimes be things like skipping meals, missing food, skipping sleep, or not getting enough sleep, where we're not prioritizing that because we're doing too many other things. And I think it's pretty obvious that I don't need to lay out the long-term consequences of ignoring those things. Obviously, we know not getting enough sleep, not eating properly, all of those clearly have very negative consequences physically and mentally. So knowing that, paying attention to those signals, and sometimes this is thought of as emotional intelligence, it's really just an insight into ourselves and how we're actually feeling about each thing that's coming across our path, and that includes how we're feeling emotionally. If something is actually really disturbing us at a deeper level, but we keep forcing ourselves to participate in it for whatever reason, or we get a gut feeling about making a certain decision, sometimes when that's happening, we're actually processing a very complex array of signals that we're receiving that perhaps our conscious mind hasn't fully come to terms with or analyzed, but at a subconscious level, we're taking in the data and we're forming a conclusion. We're feeling a certain way towards it. Something may just feel inherently like it's not good for us, and we can either choose to ignore or to honor those notifications. Now, there's a difference between temporarily overriding a signal because of a very specific greater purpose versus chronically overriding those signals. So chronically overriding it is consistently not going to sleep early enough, consistently not paying attention to our meal times and honoring our body in terms of what it needs with sleep and food and rest and taking good care of our health. So that would be more of a chronic situation. There are, of course, moments in which we must temporarily suspend something that we feel we need in order to achieve a greater purpose. But we can do so with awareness and good, healthy communication with the body. So examples of using our interoception in a way that supports us would be things like noticing that you're getting hungry before you reach the place of being starving, recognizing early signals of illness before you're really sick. Often before it becomes full-blown, there are some subtle key indicators that you're feeling extra tired, you're maybe a little bit sniffly, or your throat feels a little scratchy. And that's a great time to take a step back, get some extra rest, stock up on vitamins or whatever things you use in those situations, and allow your body to take good care of itself so that it can recover more easily. Noticing when an interaction or a conversation is draining your energy. Noticing when someone's energy feels off to you, like the interaction feels toxic or negative, and putting some distance between yourself and that person or that situation, rather than allowing all these things to build until you have a more catastrophic situation on your hands. So that is all of the pieces of having that awareness where we're actually listening to the signal and, when possible, taking steps to address the signal, to respond in a way that takes good care of yourself. And what's interesting about doing that is that having that acknowledgement activates some different neural pathways using your prefrontal cortex for a collaboration rather than trying to force or push through or override using willpower. Also, your vagus nerve responds to self-compassion, so talking kindly to your body, thinking kindly of yourself, can help to shift you from a stress mode into a rest mode, even in more challenging moments. It also reduces the sense of internal conflict. Instead of your mind fighting against your body or what it needs, you're creating an alliance between those different systems. So that simple acknowledgement, like, okay, I'm feeling exhausted, I'm feeling really tired. However, I'm going to negotiate temporarily and say this deadline or this thing that I'm working on is actually also really important, perhaps for financial security, for example. So I need to work at it for 2 more hours, and then in exchange, I'll sleep in tomorrow and rest this weekend, etc. So it's almost like a negotiation process that comes after the awareness, which is very different than all-out denial and pushing through and just saying, I'm not tired, I'm not hungry, I'm not stressed, I'm fine. There's a big difference. The outcome is the same. You're still getting that work done, but you're doing it in such a way that you're having that collaboration with your body and kind of making a deal that you're going to rest as soon as this project is finished. And of course, the ideal situation is to rest as soon as possible, as soon as you're able to, but we all sometimes find ourselves in positions or situations where immediate rest or eating immediately, whatever it is not necessarily possible for various reasons. happens. But when we start with the acknowledgement and we start with the communication, the outcome is very different. So you're creating that alliance between systems. And then over time, your body learns that you do listen and you will honor those agreements. So that is very important as well, that if you make that deal, okay, I'm going to work for 1 more hour and then go to bed early or get extra rest tomorrow, you do actually need to follow through on that so that it doesn't end up feeling like a self-betrayal. Because over time, that can cause additional feelings of unsafety and more stress. So committing to that recovery time, committing to that downtime, committing to whatever it is that has been determined is needed is very important, but it can be done in ways that honor the things that need to happen. Obviously, there are obligations and priorities and things that we've committed to, and maybe there are some moments where we don't want to break a commitment to someone or to something. But we also need to make sure we honor the commitment to ourselves, to our bodies, to our needs. So finding that happy balance and that middle ground can be very powerful. And I hope you found this to be helpful and enlightening. And if you are looking for some little quiet moments of self-care, some little moments of downtime, some little moments of restoration and rest, you can find that very easily by using tools like hypnosis, yoga nidra, EFT tapping, and meditation. And I offer all of those tools on demand, 24/7 access through my Mindset membership, the Hypno-Pothecary, and all of that information is available in the show notes if you'd like to check it out. And until we connect the next time, I wish you the most magical and creative rest of your day. Thanks for listening. This is Christine Collins at transformcreate.com.